Okay, sorry guys, 12:29 and ladies. We're running behind, but I'm going to take the time to get this done right today, and then I'll send out the bill for anyone that can't stay. I completely understand. So, okay, I'll say it one more time quick. A few announcements. One is I'm going to PCs instead of laptops. When I do travel, I'll take my laptops with me, but it looks like I'm staying in the DR for a while. I've been for a few years, and so I'm just going to go to the PCs. Um, the other thing is that there was an important setup established in the oil trading server this morning on Discord. I would strongly advise, a lot of you don't use it. I would strongly advise you use it. I know that eventually everything gets the reports that you get if you're a bundle member, but that Discord private member server, even though it can be noisy for some of you, I understand, because there's a lot of fund traders and private development type firms. It's the majority of our members now, I think. Anyway, the reality is that there's a lot of setup data that goes in there. So if you can get in there, that'd be great. That's the other announcement. And the other one is that today we're going to dig deep into the equities. We're going to do a little bit on the other models, and I'm going to do oil first. Then after I'm done oil, I'll shut down, I'll reset, and then I'll get into the next. So I think I have the oil charts up here. I'm just going to confirm that Jen's done moving people room to room. And by the way, if you get moved room to room, it's only 10 to 20 seconds. If you can't hear me very well, if you could let me know, that'd be great. And please excuse the construction. We got a few more days here. And I think that's about it for announcements. So I'll be back in half a minute here. I just want to confirm with Jen. By the way, if you get moved room to room, you're still seeing the same chart. You're still hearing the same voice. Everything's the same. It's just that we mirror on servers. Because I am using laptops, and Jen and Jeremy have the same controls I have. So they can trade on my systems, which is kind of cool. It slows everything down, especially when you're running trading room and algorithms and everything else, 6 laptops, 20 screens each, et cetera, et cetera. I've said it a number of times, but I just want to explain it because we have a few new members in the room. Okay, give me half a minute. Okay, it looks like we have everybody moved. So this is that funky test chart, the 240 minute. What we're doing right now is we're digging for triggers, for sell triggers on different time frames, because we have the epic algorithm model that's based on the 30 minute that works fantastic, or fantastically. Pardon me, but we want to build a trigger on all the different time frames. Really critical, because that'll determine in the rules-based system. This is really important. What determines the rules-based process is the time frame for your entries and exits, the chart time frame, the 1, 3, 5, 15, 30 minute, all the way up to monthly even. And that completely relates to, this is critical, that completely relates to the stop loss, because if you're triggering on a 1 minute, the chart fails. If it fails on the 1 minute, that's where the stop loss should be. If you're triggering a swing on the 30 minute or on the hourly or 4 hour, it shouldn't trigger your stop until that time frame, unless you've determined or chosen that you're actually going to set your stop on a lower time frame. But you need to know where those stops need to be. The only way to do that is to have the model for each, and the models are different. So, and that'll be clearer as we go along, but we're getting, we're deep diving now. We have the algorithm model, the 30 minute, that works fantastically. Mr. Trump, President Trump. But the timing for triggering in and out is critical. So I think we found the trigger on the 1 minute finally. We've been digging for it and digging for it for a long time. Anyway, the chart that's in front of you is the 240 minute. It's a test chart. We've got a few 240 minute test charts. I think we have 5 or 6. Whenever we're testing charts and models, you got to be careful. But I will tell you that today, it did trigger at support, or very near it, down here. So the diagonal fib, right? Now, whether or not that's a fluke or not, we're going to find out. That's just that's a 1 point trigger. It takes much more than that. Once we get a few confirmations, then Germany back tests. He runs the charts all the way back, preferably for 60 months. Now that takes a little bit of time because it's manual labor, but he's got Katie helping him now. But anyway, I think you get the point. It can take days or weeks just to confirm what I think I'm seeing. So if you think you're seeing something, if you wouldn't mind sharing it with us, that would be great, because then we can have it back tested properly. Anyway, if this chart holds any water at all, the structure, in an up move, you should see a trajectory, something like this. And so far today, it's held the support on it. Failing that support, then you just take this trajectory and mirror it down. And that would be your trajectory down. So I wanted to review this with you quick, because it did come off at the top of this arrow, where I had figured, getting into this resistance. Sure enough, it's come off. And then I thought it would retrace and test this. So that's the reason for the down arrow. And I didn't know where it would retest. I was just banking on the diagonal trend line. It's meeting here. That's on January 18th at 1 a.m. So that's this morning. That's coming up. That's in, about 12, 13 hours. Now, if it's bullish, it's not going to get there. And so if you see it develop this up here, this is probably going to happen. If it dumps early, the opposite is probably true. And that's the same for any of the charting. Well, sometimes it's not quite like that. You see where the run-up was here. It came late in this time cycle. Not much late, though. And who knows, this chart could be off, right? But it was running early into this upper time frame. Well, it was running properly, and then it came off a resistance at its test. Had it got through there and built some support, it would have got that. Anyway, it didn't quite get to the bottom of what would be considered a trading quadrant, although funky, and then it took off. So that's bullish. So this chart is still bullish. I think we're due for more of a retracement of some sort. But, I did post in the room the other day, I wanted to see a retracement right to here, and it got there. So I wanted to see that at minimum. So at this point, I'm 50-50. It's a test area, and you can tell it's a test area by the way it's going sideways. And, that's one of the beauties of having models. You'll know where those are. You'll know where the decisions are. Anyway, that's the 240 on oil. I think that's a West Texas chart, if I remember right. We were having problems with our data feeds here a few weeks back over Christmas. Okay, I'm going to get into this 1 minute chart. So this is a pattern that I think is going to back test. Jeremy is going to come back to me and tell me that this is in fact the pattern. And this is so critical on oil. 1 minute time frame is absolutely critical for day trading. So when it was dumping, now selling off. I'm going to show you the epic model here. So when it was selling off here, it lost the mid-channel line, right? Resistance is up here, support's down here, mid-channel is here. Lost the mid-channel, came back and tested it, and then it dumped. Now, a couple quick points. One is, I think Rich in the Discord room was asking why the machine trading didn't trigger here for the short. And Jeremy's response was the order flow needs to be at a certain level before it triggers. What you have to know is we're tightening the variables or variants on the software all the time. So for example, the software used to shut down 15 minutes before open until 15 minutes after open. And we're down to, I think, 8 minutes now. So we slowly tighten it down, but every notch that you tighten down, every single rule, there's 2,559 of them and counting in the software. You got a back test. It's massive, the amount of work I can't even describe. So anyway, I won't go on a rant on it. It's a massive project. So, and the other quick point is, another example is, over the holidays, the chart anomalies because there was missing days, right? So the structure was off, and you could see it in the trade. All the machines shut down. Anyway, it's back to structure, you can tell. It lost, it perfectly dumped, sold off into the bottom of the quad. I think it even overshot a little bit. Now here's the problem with us, not only us, my personal trading, the machine trading, and with members. Pardon me. The problem is, by the way, I'm not shutting off my mic most of the time when I cough, and I apologize, because every time I click it on and off, there can be problems with the communications. So again, the new machines are coming. You see how it sold off lower than the support on the quad. I'm just going to move it up here a little bit. And what it did was it bounced off of a fairly significant historical support and resistance line. Those horizontal purples are historical support and resistance that keep hitting time and time again, the most probable of them. The thicker they are, the more important they are. And sure enough, the thickest one on the chart right now has support on the day. But there's so many decisions for a human trader triggering, especially, you know, you're distracted, you're making something to eat or coffee, and somebody's yelling at you, your phone's ringing, you know, whatever. I was going to say your fax is going, but I don't think people use fax as much anymore. I think you get the point. There's, you know, there's 2,559 decisions. Let's say you enter here at the bottom of the quad, and then it starts dumping on you. Well, you might short it and panic in a short, and then have to go and get chopped up as it's, you know, confirming in here. Even though we know that, you know, I don't even know what it is, 80+% of the time it's going to bounce here. It can still beat you in the line, and how I know it is I'm a trade coach, so I'm training all the time. I personally trade, and members tell me they get chopped up in those decisions. So we, you know, that's the biggest challenge for us. It's the biggest thing beyond the model to figure out where to trigger this exactly, right? Because you're day trading. What happened this morning was I got chopped up in there, bad. I mean, I'm up for the day because, you know, I'm getting better and better at using the rules system all the time. So my trading, you know, my P&L is rocking. It, you know, you don't realize it until all the small trades start adding up. Because those, you know, those small trades get big after a short amount of time. You know, one contract size goes to 10 contract size fast. And the other issue is the one contract size people, they can't have much chop before their account is blown up, you know, or significantly injured. So second to the model being developed or discovered, because it's actually the model that everybody's using in terms of the quants that are winning. The private funds, and I'm giggling there because we have some of them in the room. Anyway, the point is, this seriously affects your success, your P&L, your day, you know, whether or not you can sit in Zen or not. So here, I've been seeing this pattern over and over and over again. So this is the 1 minute. So if you can trigger on the 1 minute, that solves everything. Now, do me a favor and don't share this chart with anybody that's not a member, because this is a huge discovery. If it, in fact, backtests, and Jeremy's given me initial indications it does. What is this chart? This is that 1 minute chart I've been using. These horizontal blue and red lines here, these are trading box lines, support and resistance, right? And those have been testing. And what I did was I added last night an alarm in the middle. That's the white dotted. You know, so you can hear the alarm when I'm doing homework or whatnot. But I noticed quite often it would go underneath or above, you know, and it would pivot. So I was thinking, could I get those pivots? Could I figure out, you know, where it's going to pivot? So what I started to do was I started to run the fibs, and sure enough, a trading box develops, right? So here's my trading box on the pivot or the decision. You just take your rectangle. Wherever you see blues and reds, that's a trading box. You see that? So that's the pivot or the decision. But what's more important than that, that's just an off kind of point. What's more important is the actual pattern. So how did I get the pattern? I just took the channel that was developing and thought, you know, this might be it. And then once I got the channels in play, this lower one, this upper one, then I ran my extension from the bottom of what we would call a quad to the top of the quad. And then I looked at the pattern. I said, you know, I've seen this pattern before a gazillion times because I trigger on it all the time. And look at it, it's at the top of the next trading box, support. So what happens is everything lines up there. And so how did my channel come in? Well, my channel came in here. 1, 2 touches, right? So I just ran it down. Once you get 2 touches, you can start running your channels. My apologies, I suffer from extreme allergies. Hence the reason I've got mouth operation on the go, because inflammation has caused havoc with my jaw bones. Anyway, another reason I'm in the tropics instead of in the tundra. Is it called the tundra? Anyway, I was born in almost the Arctic in Canada. So I think you see my point. Anyway, the pattern itself is critical. And when it spiked, you know, so it was elevator up, as soon as you're in that elevator up, I mean, there's no reason not to trigger. And boom, look at the trajectory. Anyway, he's back testing it, and I think this is the pattern on the trigger for the 1 at the bottom of the quads. Now, he'll naturally back test the top of the quads with the same pattern, right? The mirror image or the fractals of it. But I think we got it. The important thing on this 1 minute chart, so that's huge. That's second most important to the actual model itself. But this allows day traders to trigger in confidence if they understand the pattern. This here, you see this W? So this is a conventional structure, pattern, the bottom W, right? So when I seen the W and I seen the up elevator, the buy side flow, and I've seen this pattern a number of times, so I've got a conventional charting set up. I've got an algorithmic charting set up on all the time frames. I've got buy flow, I got everything. Everything's structured. When I see that, when it confirms on everything that I know, I can tell you already this is it. It's just, what the probabilities are. Is it 80%? Is it 70%? What are the probabilities? But if you think about it, when it sets up on all the time frames like it did there, and it sets up on especially the epic model, and now it's set up on the one, I bet you it's in the high 90%. I might be a little too excited, but it's high. I can guarantee it because I've traded oil for some time and I know what I'm seeing. So anyway, I think we've got it. So it's a huge day for us. It's a massive day. So I apologize. This is what we were spending all our time on this morning. Not specifically, it turned into that, this pattern, but in pre-market we were busy with, we have to solve the 1 minute triggers because it's chopping up our traders too much. And it aggravates me to have chop and losses that aren't needed. In oil, they can add fast. I think you get the point. So anyway, you can extend, you can copy and paste all this and work with it. If you have any thoughts on it, please email us with it. That's what we're seeing. Like, even if you take this trading box decision here, let's take it and move it up one time cycle here. Or time frame, sorry. I'll move it up and I'll show you. So on this pivot here. This is why I love when, people in stock twits, they're like, too many lines on your charts. Yeah, okay, try no trade me. Try it. And I've had a lot of hot dogs come to me, or hot shots, whatever you want to call them, and say, I get way bigger wins than you do. My response is always, yeah, but do you have the same win percentage, and the same frequency? And I'm busy. I get like 5% of a 24-hour day to trade. Try that. Well, that's a little bit extreme, but maybe 5% of a day of a 24-hour period do I have trading. I mean, I sit down and when I sit down to trade, I trade. If you've seen what we were doing, you'd understand. Anyway, this is the trading box. You can see how it's, it pivoted here. Once it got on top of the trading box, boom. Now it's come back, tested the support of it, now it's testing it again. But I mean, this is quite a move. If you look at the epic model, it got up into resistance, right? So you should be in chop now. But being able to trigger on that 1 minute gets you the whole range of the move on epic, and I think the full range is 153 or 156 points from bottom to top of the model. I can't remember what it is, but it's high. One contract, that's a $1,500, $1,600 win off of one trade. Well, if you know how to trigger the 1 minute, every time it touches the top and the bottom, some weeks it touches the top and the bottom 6 to 12 times. I mean, in total, right? It could be 3 to 6 times on the bottom. It's done it already here, 3 times this week. Well, really, there's 2 win sides. Well, 3 decent trades, so 6 total. It just depends on the volatility of the week, but that's huge. You get 6 a week at $1,500 with one contract. You got $9,000 a week. It's huge. It's massive. So this is why it's so critical to get the 1 minute triggers. And we don't just need the 1 minute triggers at the bottom. We need the 1 minute triggers at the top. And we need the 1 minute triggers at the mid channels. And we need the 1 minute trigger at the mid quad, right? We need the bottom support, the top resistance, the mid quad, and the mid channels. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1 minute setups. Once we've got that, our traders forget the 9,000 a week on the outside quads. Then you can even tighter time frame it. I bet you one contract. Once we get the 1 minute triggers right, trading through a full week is, a $20,000 week. If you execute it properly on the rules. Now, I might be really extreme here, but extreme is how this got created in the first place. When I first told people that I was seeing these quadrants, because I was trading oil, right, on conventional charting. When I first told people that I could see it and I was going to do what I'm doing right now in developing this software to machine trade it, I'm not exaggerating, everybody in my community laughed. And my community was a sophisticated community in terms of, mental authority and financial authority. And everybody laughed, said it wasn't. It wasn't, it was poppycock. So I'm being extreme to the next level now, telling you, I think we're going to nail these 1-minute triggers. And I think we're going to get it to the point where that machine trade on one contract would be able to trade on one contract, machine trade per week, over $20,000 a week. So you heard it here first, 12:54 p.m., January 17, 2019. I'm going to be marking this video. not that I'm going to broadcast it all over the internet and give people a hard time like I normally do, but I'm going to, send it to a few people that told me I was nuts. Why not? Christmas next year. Okay, I'll get serious here. Let's get busy. So it's 12:55. I gotta get this done as soon as possible. You know all the rules for the Epic model, so I'm gonna clear that off right now. So here's another 240 test chart. This is specifically for our sizing on the 240. What's going to end up happening though is we're going to trigger on the 1 and then go up, time frames. But the 240 has been really good. So right now you're at the pivot. That pink horizontal is pivot. We are getting really close to a move up or a move down. It could happen any time now. As we get closer to, here's the timing on it, January 23rd, 5 a.m. So what is that? Today's Thursday, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, so 23rd Tuesday. At 5 a.m. There's no way to get there. It'll happen before that. It's probably going to happen in here. Well, it could happen anywhere in here. Anytime now. I would say before tomorrow at 1 o'clock. It's happening. But who knows? Knowing the machines, they'll leave it right here Sunday night or Friday end of the day. What's the number there? This is West Texas, by the way. 5170. So Friday end of the day, if it sits at 5170, basically where it's trading right now. Wow. But it's possible. Anyway, I think you get the point there. The blue arrows up and down are the trajectory, and those are included in the Discord room and reports, and I think I've emailed them. This is our 1 minute. Still on top of the trading box. I'm going to clear this out. I got to just save that trading box really quick. Just to remind myself when I'm updating. So if you have any questions about everything I just ranted on, go ahead and send me a note. Just make sure it's not one that's going to hurt my feelings, because I'm a trader and I'm extremely passionate about what I do, which causes me to be an emotional trader. The beautiful part about losing is you get angry and then stuff like this happens. You develop further, right? There was a time where early on where the partners would make me angry intentionally because they knew I'd win. Okay, so I think that's it for oil. I think I've gone through the important parts. We know we're testing the 200 MA on the weekly. We know that we're testing the 50 MA on the daily. We should look at that really quick, the daily. Because there was a decision on there that was really important beyond. There's some timing on there I want to look at. Okay, this is what I wanted to see. Here's your daily. So it's, sitting on the trading box support. It hit it today. It's above the 50 MA just. And it's coming into this time cycle. This is February 1st. 48.76 is most probable, but it could be 54.15 area. And in really bullish scenario, you're at $60. If this sends you bullish signals before it gets to that timing completion on February 1st, if it starts to trend up, you're going for this mid quad at 54. Well, it's about 54.20. If it gets really bullish, it'll try and hit that top target. And this is where the squeeze would happen over that 54, over 54.30 area. Squeeze kicks in. In a squeeze scenario, because this could happen, your key resistance then is 55.44 over 54.30. And then the top of your trading box is huge resistance at 57.13 to 57.60 area. You'd have to review the chart exact. And up over that takes you into $60 oil. That could happen. That's a really important piece of commentary for myself to try and remember. And by the way, if you hear me or see, setups discussed, and I don't seem to be triggering on what I've already told you, let me know. But I can see this right now setting up. This is your pullback, and that pullback's holding this trading box so far. That 20 MA comes through here. Wow. It's very possible, guys. January 22nd to 24th. That's early next week. It could get the pop from that 20 MA coming. And if that 20 MA is about to cross that 50 MA and price is above, she's rocking. That would be probably the biggest move oil will see all year. If that price stays above the 20 and 50 and the 20 is crossing the 50. That'll probably be your biggest opportunity all year, that time frame. It's big. You don't want to forget that either. So there's a few nuggets here that I don't want to forget. Okay, that's oil for the day. So I'm going to reset the recorder and come back and do equities, earning equities. It's 1:02 p.m., January 7th, 2019, and that was your daily oil report. See you in a few minutes.